So basically, all the yamas and the niyamas are guidelines that allow us to have enhanced emotional and mental well-being and a more fulfilling and meaningful life. Um, they provide us with a mirror to study ourselves, to get a little bit deeper than just surface stuff, to really get to know ourselves, to really live a fulfilled life. The first two limbs of yoga, they come before anything. They come before the poses. They come before everything. Um, Basically, it's like ground level, like a great like starting point. Really good tools for transformation if you apply them to your life. They will definitely be beneficial to you and those around you. And so I guess we can kind of dive into the first one. One of the first Yama, which is ahimsa, so nonviolence. This isn't only physical violence; it is not harming yourself, not only physically but like emotionally as well. Like we all go through things. Everyone goes through things in life, and we have a tendency to beat ourselves up for it, be a little bit more harsh towards ourselves than really need be. And this, in these situations, would be perfect time to practice ahimsa, to give ourselves space to feel what we're feeling, and really not hold on to feelings of like guilt. Rather let those go and allow ourselves to process everything else that's going on and work through it like with a clear head. I know sometimes it's really hard to get through something or really be able to like process like how you're actually feeling if guilt is your number one emotion and you can't like get past that. Like it will literally clog up your whole everything. So nonviolence is definitely more than just something physical. Not harming yourself, not harming the environment. I think it's even like little things. Like to me, the first example that pops in my head to me is like if I see like a spider or a wasp or something in the house, I won't kill it. I will trap it in a cup or a container and take it outside where it needs to be, where it came from. Killing it does nothing for me, and yeah, ends that little creature's life, which I just see is completely pointless. Not harming the environment, doing what we can, not littering. I mean, it's just really basic stuff that a lot of people don't consider like it's not important, but it actually is, because if you have half the human population like throwing stuff out the car windows and just like aimlessly, like carelessly killing things, yeah, as a whole, that makes a really big impact on Mother Nature, like on humans. I mean, themselves. And I'm reading here, it says not speaking that which, even though truthful, would harm others. So this one, I guess, is kind of like tricky. Again, this is just one of those based on the situations, not knowing when to speak and not when to speak. We're taught that it's best to always be truthful. I guess we're not really taught that even if it is the truth, some things don't really need to come out. I guess if it's not hurting you or another human being, and it doesn't really affect anything, then it's like one of those things you can just like leave it alone. If it's gonna hurt someone else, I guess everybody would have to just kind of make their own decisions, like when it comes to that, like how they interpret that. Um, so the next one is satya, truthfulness, not intending to deceive others in our thoughts as well as our words and actions. And sometimes, like, our heads, it's really crazy, like, how the mind works. So, like, sometimes in our heads, you know, like, it's hard to decipher, like, truth sometimes. Maybe about how you're feeling, or there's just certain situations where sometimes it's hard to know, like, what is the truth. I'm trying to think of a specific situation, but for some reason it's like eluding me. So basically, yeah, truthfulness. Obviously, not lying is number one thing that would come up when we think about, truthfulness. But it also goes a little bit deeper than that. I think we could go into being true to ourselves, being true to the people around us. So when we're not true to ourselves, we carry, and I literally just went through this. I wasn't true to myself, even though, like, I knew in the back of my head a lot of things that I refused to acknowledge. And I wasn't true to myself. And guess what? It all came up and smacked me in my face like a month ago. And so, like, now my entire life is being rearranged because I wasn't truthful to myself. Like, I knew what I wanted, I knew what my ultimate goals were, and because someone came into my life and made it easy, I kind of ditched myself. Like, I lost sight of, what I had been working so hard for. And I'm paying for that now. I'm definitely paying for that now. So it's very important to always be truthful to oneself. Like, just, I don't even know. There's, like, little things in the back of your head, like, telling you, like, your intuition, and sometimes you don't trust it, and you think, oh, I'm in control, like, I got this, but you're denying, like, feelings. You're suppressing feelings. You are ignoring reoccurring thoughts, like things that keep coming up to remind you, and you just keep pushing them down, because everything in front of you is it's like shiny things. It's like, yay. But really, if you're not being truthful to yourself, in the long run, it's gonna harm you. And which goes back to ahimsa, like non-violence and non-harming. Like, they all go hand in hand. The next one is asteya, which is non-stealing, not taking anything which is not given. And this is more than just surface stuff. Like, I guess it could go, like, into emotions as well. I can't really think right off the top of my head what a good example would be of non-stealing in a situation like that, but perfect example. Like, don't be the person that steals someone's joy. Like, if somebody's having a good day, don't come in and ruin it. It's things like that, like stealing someone's joy, stealing someone's peace, like taking that away from them, which that is also their responsibility to maintain. But at the same time, like, we as human beings don't need to come into someone else's life and disrupt it to the point where, their peace and their joy and, their happiness has been taken from them. Sometimes situations like that aren't always cut and dry. So, and people get caught up in things. And if you're, not, like, really deep into your practices, it's easy for someone, and even someone who does practice regularly and has been practicing for a while, like sometimes it's hard to pull yourself out of a situation like this, especially when a lot of emotions get involved. So I guess we as individuals have to be more aware of how we are affecting other people's lives as well. The next one is brahmacharya, sexual responsibility. So instead of seeing people as male and female, see them as human beings. Like, we're all human. We're all just here. We have different parts, but we're all made up of the same thing. We're all made up of energy, and we all have a soul. Like, this is just our physical body. And so, we have to respect everyone. If you're born a female, like, you have masculine and feminine traits. Like, you're born a male, you have feminine and masculine traits. It's like, this is just our physical body, but also, like, sexual responsibility. So when we start opening ourselves up to other people in a sexual manner, you're allowing their energy to come together with yours. And so you might think it's just sex. Oh, it's just sex. It's going to happen one time, never going to see him again. It's just a one night stand, like stuff like that. But in all actuality, yeah, that energy that they shared with you during that encounter, you will carry with you. Some people forever, because you don't really think about things. A lot of people don't really think about these things, but unless you do like cleansing and like cord cutting and all of this stuff, that like with all these connections to random people, like that is just something that you will continue to carry with you, and it will affect future relationships, and it will, it can affect your life in different ways. But then this also ties into the saka, which is cleanliness, like taking care of your body and respecting your body, and your mental well-being. Like, it can get a little confusing when you have a bunch of sexual partners and your energy is scattered everywhere, and you've taken on a whole bunch of other people's energy, and then it's just like, you're confused. And so it like I said, all these tie together. Sexual responsibility. And so the last limb of the Yama is aparigraha, which is abstention from greed, not coveting that which is not ours, avoidance of a necessary acquisition of objects not essential to maintaining life or spiritual study. And this one really hit me because this morning when I was looking this up, this literally happened to me yesterday, and I won't go into detail, but I was being greedy, and I was willing to do something like it would have benefited me like financially, but I don't really need that, and it was gonna cause problems in other aspects of my life. And it just really made me think this morning, and I was like, wow, like I really need to be going back through these and like studying these, because like these apply to everyone's life. Like it wouldn't have made me or broke me to enter into this agreement with another human being. So therefore it wasn't really necessary. And it's definitely something that, abstention from greed. I mean, if you don't really need it, yeah, it's nice to have, but I mean, consider, are you respecting yourself in it? Are you respecting those that care about you? Are you respecting the people around you? Like, there's just a lot of things to consider, like when making a decision. Um, and so moving on to the Niyama, the precepts of individual discipline, which is lifestyle observances. So we'll start with Saka, cleanliness. We just touched on this a second ago. It's not only external, but it's internal as well. And I guess everything just keeps combining together. Cleanliness. So of your mental state, not only of your body, like taking care of your body and respecting your body physically, but your mental state is very important too. If you're carrying around like a lot of hatred and anger and resentment, these things can really affect you mentally. It affects your relationship with yourself. It affects your relationship with other human beings. It just affects your life in general. It creates a lot of issues in relationships and in life in general. So it's really important that, you know, we are taking the time out to really know what's going on up here, to really feel what's going on in here, to process everything, how we're feeling, like what our thought patterns are, like are there recurring negative thoughts about yourself or other people or situations. Things like that need to be addressed and worked through so that you can clean your mental state and your emotional body and things like that. Santosa, it's contentment, not spiritual complacency, but acceptance of the external situation we are allotted in this life. Excuse me. So to me, that would be accepting where we are spiritually, accepting our outside circumstances, but knowing that it is constant work. And while we do have to be persistent and consistent with our practice, our spiritual work, our yoga practice, everything, we also need to accept that we are where we are, you know, and just allow yourself to be there. I mean, growth, it takes time. Yeah, it doesn't happen overnight. Everything takes time. So we really have to make sure that we're giving ourselves the space for that time, and not get comfortable where we are, because let me tell you, I've learned a ton in the past couple weeks about things that I need to work on. I'm like, whoa. So, and never did I think that I was there or that I made it or that I was perfect or it was fixed. Like I knew there were like issues, and I'm constantly working on myself every day, but like, you know, I thought a lot of the stuff I had worked through, and it really was brought to light and brought to my attention, and I was just like, whoa. And it wasn't something that I asked for. It wasn't something that I even wanted to deal with, but it came up. And so that's where the acceptance comes in. I just had to let go of control of the situation and just let things happen and come as they came and deal with it, one thing at a time. And it really is true that when you hear the saying, it goes something like, the more you realize you don't know, the more you actually know. And that is so true, because I'm like, man, like just in talking with my sister and like just different people, like all this new stuff coming to light, and I'm like, okay, there's a lot I didn't know, even about myself. I'm like still learning like some really deep stuff about myself, and so like I just had to like accept this is what it is. Like, this is what we're doing right now. Okay, we'll get through it. So moving on to the next one, which is tapas, austerity, deep commitment to your yoga practice. All of the other limbs are very important too, but at some point you have to incorporate your actual yoga practice into your life. And that's not just postures, that's all of these 10 limbs that stem off the Yama and Niyama, but it's also the other limbs of yoga as well. And it's a lot. It can be a lot to try to incorporate into your life. But that's where the deep commitment comes in. Like, if we fully commit ourselves to this and we practice it daily, we'll constantly be learning new things. We'll constantly be learning new ways to incorporate these things into our lives. And the deeper you get with yourself, the deeper your mind's gonna go. Like, when you actually do like open your books and study the 8 limbs, it'll get deeper and deeper every time. It's just like the more your mind expands, the deeper you're gonna understand everything that you're reading. The next one is Svadhyaya, self-study, spiritual self-education, contemplation and application of the scriptures or sacred texts of our chosen path. So this doesn't just necessarily mean the sutras. It could apply to anything. If you are religious and you don't believe in the Yoga Sutras, like, read the Bible, apply what you've learned from the Bible and your, religious beliefs to your life. Buddhists, apply, the Buddhist principles to your life. It's, and in my opinion, they all come back to the same place anyways. Nobody has to agree with me. That's fine. I respect everyone's beliefs. But as far as like the different religions and then the different spiritual paths, I truly believe that they all lead to the same place. There's 1,000 different paths that all lead to the same place. I could be wrong. That's just my beliefs. And yeah, so self-study, that's, oh gosh, sometimes it can be rough because you don't want to admit things about yourself. And this has been happening to me lately. Over, like I said, the past month, life's been crazy. There were certain things that, I kind of were in the back of my head, like me telling myself. And, some things is just not, I just didn't want to admit. I'm like, no, I don't have that issue. No, I don't want to deal with that right now. That was a lot of it. Like, I don't want to deal with that right now. And so I just ignored it, pushed it to the side. And it surfaced in a big way too. In a really big way. And then at the same time, I have my sister-in-law write me a book about me, like having dreams about me for a week, and then comes to me and says, okay, listen, I've been scared to talk to you, but I gotta lay this all out there. It's messages that I've gotten in my dreams for you, and you need to hear it. Like, we're connected like on a soul level. It's super weird. Everything she laid out for me, it was a book, and I was like, oh gosh. And I didn't really want to face any of it, and she's like, you're surely gonna be offended by it, and but that's part of self-study, part of spiritual self-education. Even though I didn't want to hear it, it was harsh truths about myself, I needed to hear it. Like, I had to allow myself the space and have compassion with myself, to be able to hear these things and admit them. And I did, and I was like, Okay, so basically, you told me everything that's been in the back of my head for a while, things that I've been running from and just pushing to the side. And so now here it is, and it's time to face it. And a lot of it had to do, and it says contemplation and application of the scriptures or sacred texts of our chosen path. And I mean, obviously, I'm here in yoga teacher training and trying to learn more about the different aspects of yoga, not just the postures. And so the sutras come up. Obviously, that's part of the yoga journey. And back to the first two limbs where it all begins. Truthfulness, nonviolence and non-harming, non-stealing, sexual responsibility, abstination from greed. All of that applies to the situation right now, which I'm like, did they know I needed to have these two limbs or what? I'm like, I feel attacked when I started looking into this stuff. I was like, whatever. I'm like, did they know I was a mess right now and they assigned me these? Like, but thank you. So, self-study, spiritual self-education, like, I had to face these things to be able to grow past it. Like, I had to face it. I didn't have an option. And I'm grateful for it. It's uncomfortable, extremely uncomfortable in the moment, but I'm super grateful for it because once you are able to face something, you don't have to beat yourself up over it. That's part of the ahimsa, non-violence, not beating yourself up over something. I mean, it happened. We can't go back and change anything. Like, things happen. We're not all perfect. We're human, and we have to give ourselves, we have to respect ourselves there. Like, we are all human. We are gonna make mistakes. And you have to make mistakes to learn. And I feel like some of the biggest lessons come out of the craziest situations. Like, everybody would view like my story, like prison, 5 years in prison, as like the most horrible thing. And I'm like, no, it changed my life. Literally, the person that was before prison, I don't even know her, nor would I ever want to be her again. And so, like, we can go through like the absolute most worst things, and in the midst of it, it's horrible and it's terrifying, and there's so much uncertainty, and you want to kick yourself in the ass because you're like, why did I do that? But really, you need to look for the silver lining, look for the opportunities to grow, look for the opportunities for self-study, for your spiritual self-education. Like, what is here that I can learn going forward? Like, this is really important. If you never go through anything in your life, how are you ever going to learn anything? You usually put yourself in a box, and I mean, what? Just remain the same? That goes back to contentment. Like, you have to, not being complacent. You have to, go through things. You can't just like settle in and get comfortable and never grow. So Svadhyaya is very important. And then we will move on. This is the last of the Niyamas. It's Isvara Pranidhana, surrender of the self to God, acknowledgement that there is a higher principle in the universe than one's own small self, modesty and humility. I can honestly say that at some point in my life, I thought the world revolved around me. And sometimes I might still catch myself there, and I'm like, oh, no, Jessica. Like, we need to, like, get back down here because, no. So, basically, and this makes it a lot easier for me personally. So acknowledging that there is a higher power and that everyone here does have a purpose. So this has really helped me, like, in the midst of like the worst situations. And looking back, like, it kind of all makes sense too. So when something happens in my life and I'm trying to find this overlining in it, you know, and the lessons, I always try to keep in mind that things are, there's a lot of things that we can control, but then there's also a lot of things that we can't control. And it's those things that, some of the things that we think we need to control, we definitely don't need to be controlling. We just need to let that go and let things unfold as they should. But the things that are out of our control, it helps, like, knowing there's a higher power, to really be able to just take a step back and, like it says, humility, humble yourselves, and know that, you know, something else is in control. There's a reason why this is happening. There's a reason why we're going through this. And we're not going to know. 9 times out of 10, like, in the midst of it, we're going to be so confused and just like, what the fuck? But generally, after you've gone through something and you've moved forward with your life, hindsight, you're able to look back and you're able to have a little bit of an understanding. And after, you know, you take the lessons there and you've applied them to your life moving forward, and you're really able to just be like, oh, so that's why I needed to go through that. You know, like, we're not always going to understand things in the moment, and everything isn't for us to understand. But that's also where having a higher power comes in. Like, we just have to trust the process. We have to let go of trying to control the situation. We have to just flow with what's coming. And that's been huge for me this past month. Like I said, my entire life has been flipped upside down, and I'm like, whoa, didn't see that coming. But fighting it's not going to do me any good. It's not going to do me a bit of good to try to resist the change that's come. So I've kind of just like let go of trying to control the situation, trusting that, you know, there is more of a reason behind all of this. I mean, which, yeah, I wasn't being truthful to myself. Satya, I wasn't being truthful to myself. So now it's all coming full circle, and the universe is like, hey, you're going to be true to yourself whether you like it or not. And now, since you weren't truthful to yourself in the beginning, I'm going to put you through hell right now, and you're going to get it right. So, and I'm like, okay, surrender. That's me surrendering. Okay, fine. Like, if that's what you want me to do. And, you know, before I was trying to control the situation, I was trying to control which thoughts I acknowledged, which feelings I acknowledged. And that was all based on what would benefit me in the moment, not what would benefit me in the future, which is very important. Like, you know, we have to be looking at what's going to benefit our futures, you know, just everything just in the moment isn't going to be like beneficial to me in 5 years, you know? So I guess we have to take everything into consideration. And so yeah, and really just humble ourselves and be grateful for the lessons and be grateful for life and be grateful that there is a higher power and we do have a purpose, and realize how small we actually are.